Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore. Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint.
It will be time for the BluePrint Power Hour in just a moment. Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. It's a new week. Today is October 20th, 2020. Oh, wow. 10/20/2020. When will that happen again?
Yeah.
100 years? So, no, not even. So, today is Tuesday. The BluePrint Power Hour is the subject at hand. We're going to start in just a moment. But before we start, I have to thank our title sponsor, Legendary Foods. If you go to eatlegendary.com and use the code SHR10, you'll get 10% off your entire purchase. I'm becoming increasingly more and more concerned about sugar consumption. If you are concerned about sugar consumption, eatlegendary.com is the place to go. I'm going to get Rob on here. I want to talk about a couple things before we actually start the BluePrint Power Hour. Let's go.
Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Doing great. It's great to be back.
So I want to, I'm always researching something. And so I have a hip joint that I injured standing way too wide on bent over rows. I was doing the T-bar rows where you stick the end of the bar in the corner, and then you grab a pull down handle and you put it underneath. And I love that movement. I've always loved that movement. It makes me feel so good. And I got very heavy with them. And one day I just went way too wide, and I had this grinding sensation in my hip. Now, for those of you who think you have hip problems, if you can touch your hip by going somewhere near where you keep your wallet, your back pocket, or if you have pain on the side, outside of your leg here, or towards the glute muscle, that's not your hip. Your hip joint is right where your junk is, right in the middle of your legs, right in your crotch. When you have hip problems, you feel it, for guys, where your junk is, down there. Like that, you get pain, but you know it's not your junk, you know it's bone because you're moving your leg and you're like, oh, wow, that hurts when I do that. So over the injury happened about 4 years ago and progressively has gotten worse, and I have pain from it now. And so I'm going to see a good doctor, I'll reveal more later, to have some intra-articular injections to help regrow cartilage, because you can regrow cartilage. I was talking to a guy at the gym the other day. He's had 2 knee replacements, or no, he's had 1 knee replacement, 2 hip replacements, and they're finally doing the last knee. And I said, there's shot, yeah, but none of them regrow cartilage. And I said, no, you can regrow cartilage. And I saw that look come over his face, the one that says, my doctor told me you can't, you're an idiot. And he said, because my doctor said there's no way to regrow cartilage. I says, well, I'm sorry to tell you, I know I'm just a guy in the gym, just a schmuck, but you can. He goes, well, I'm just happy to get the other knee done. And that was it. So, folks, you can regrow cartilage. And this isn't my opinion. This is the opinion of several really well-documented studies by really intelligent scientists. So you can regrow cartilage. But with that, let's move away. So I'm doing a lot of research about what I want injected into my hip joint, because I know what I want injected, right? And so I keep coming across these rodent studies. And so guess what they use in rodent studies to create the rapid onset of the arthritic model in a joint?
Wait, I've got it. CrossFit.
That's good. That's very good. Ding, ding, ding. No, osmolar dextrose.
Oh.
When they inject now, osmolar dextrose means that it's so solvent that there's no crystals in it whatsoever.
Right.
Okay, it's in its most diluted molar state. So it's not because the dextrose has sharp edges, as was said in a Facebook post the other day. Well, it's because it's crystals. No, it's osmolar dextrose means it's completely solvent. It's solved. There's nothing coming out of the solution. There's enough liquid where it can't recrystallize at all. But think about this for a second. If dextrose causes spontaneous changes to the cartilage that create the arthritic joint model, then what does it do in your diet? Because it gets in there. Remember, the synovial fluid is loaded with glucosamine. Glucosamine. It's a sugar and an amino acid bonded together. So in order for glucosamine to be manufactured in the synovial capsule, that means there has to be a steady supply of certain things, amino acids and sugars. And when you look at the probability of a diabetic person developing arthritis, it's like they're linked together. Arthritis and type 2 diabetes, they're just good old friends. So the more sugar you cut out of your diet and the greater stability you lend to your blood sugar levels, the less likely you will end up with arthritis, folks. This is not rocket science. If they're using sugar to destroy chondrocytes, then what happens in a human being who has raging sugar levels?
Yeah, it almost reminds me of sugar and cavities, right? I mean, similar concept, I guess.
Yeah. Sugar is highly corrosive, I guess. And when you think about it, to the human body.
Yeah, and when you talk about aging, right, there's all the cross-linking of glucose molecules is basically it. That and oxidation.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, guess who's watching from South Africa today? Carrie Kruger. Hi, Carrie. How are you? And looks like we have a new fan, Naji Benuba. And he says, hello, how are you? We're fine. We're glad you're here. Hope you enjoyed today's show. We had lots of great questions. So do we want to talk about anything else before we get started on the first question?
No, I think we're good to go. We should jump into it.
Okay. So the first question comes from a longtime listener, Mike Guardia. He says, I really miss the original Ultimate Orange. What made it work so well? Diane Ball. There was Debo.
Yeah. A lot of people thought so, but no. So I was unfamiliar with it. Ultimate Orange was it was a powder. It was the brainchild of Dan Duchesne, and many, including myself, consider it the original pre-work. It had quite a kick to it. But if memory serves, the original formula consisted of the following. You had mahuang, or ephedra sinica, to supply the ephedrine, kola nut and guarana as herbal forms of caffeine. He had a little bit of whey protein in there, 6-7 grams, which was new at the time. A little bit of EGCG and something called quadracarb, which he said was a 4-stage, right, fast, medium, slow release type of carbohydrate to fuel your training. And Duchesne was actually making the stuff batch by batch in his garage.
Oh, that makes me feel confident.
Yeah. Right. Especially with Dan.
Right?
Yeah. So his friend David Jenkins, who he was head of Next Nutrition at the time, he may still be, I don't know. He was over, and Dan was, whipped up a batch of the stuff, and he said, "Here, drink this." And the story goes that, Jenkins was like, you need to make this stuff like commercially available. And they came up with the name Ultimate Orange. So the original ads, I'll never forget those. They said something to the effect of, this is not for every pencil neck ding dong in your gym. And Dan swears it contains no banned substances, which of course got people excited because they they thought it might, right?
Wink,
and depending,
wink. People listening on radio, wink, wink. I was winking into the camera.
Yeah. So the truth is, that it was an ingenious combination of herbal stimulants and real effective amino acids and a carb blend that sustained your performance. So while AST research was selling God knows how much dimetadrine 25, which was synthetic ephedrine, and EPH 833, which was their ephedra product, as well as straight up caffeine, Duchesne's approach was far more elegant, if not more, cost effective. On a per serving basis, Ultimate Orange was a lot more expensive than just buying straight ephedrine. Although, to be fair, it had a slightly different effect.
Seth Manna feels that the ephedra alone would have made it pretty effective, as it was the first product to contain it. And the first time any of us did ephedra, it was like, holy crap. Like, how can I get more of that? And the reality is, you never felt the first time you used ephedra, you just felt like the world was in love with you. Everything was great. Life was, and then you chased that forever because it never felt like that again on its second, third, or fourth dose.
Yeah. The virgin dose was always the best. No question about it. But so a couple of things. Number one, please do not fall for the Ultimate Orange that's out there today. If I'm not mistaken, some company, I forget their name, High Tech Pharmaceuticals, bought the name and supposedly reformulated it. It's nothing but herbal caffeine. For a while, he had DMAA in there. But if I'm not mistaken, that's banned now too. It was still never as good as the original. But if you're interested in getting close to what the original Ultimate Orange was, you can do so with the following ingredients. 2 primatine tablets. That's about 25 milligrams of ephedrine. The guarana and the kola nut, which were the herbal forms of caffeine, are still out there. You want to look for something that's standardized to about 250 milligrams of caffeine. A scoop of Thrive and a scoop of orange carbolin, which, with approximately 250 milligrams of EGCG that went along with it. That homemade version will actually be very, very close to the original Ultimate Orange. In some respects, it's even better. And I say that because Dan used 6 or 7 grams of the then brand new whey protein. Whereas if you're using Thrive, you're going to get a full 25 grams or so.
Yeah, and of a nice ratio of casein to whey, so it's going to sustain you too. And
extra essential amino acids.
Right.
So it goes to work faster and it'll last a lot longer. And ditto for the carb blend that's in carbolin. Dan wrote extensively about the day that was coming where they had access to high molecular weight modified starches. But products like carbolin had not been invented yet. They were on the horizon, but they weren't quite there. The only quibble that I have with it is that today you have to use ephedrine, the pharmaceutical, as opposed to mahuang or ephedra, which the FDA outlawed and can't be used in supplements. And the reason is this: the herb ephedra has a much smoother rise and fall to it, much better sustained energy than ephedrine, which is more or less like this, up and down. But that's minor. And in truth, most people probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference, at least people that are new to ephedrine. So that's what it was.
If you go to your pharmacy to buy Primatine tablets, you better bring your driver's license with you, because you'll have to fill out the book that says, "I promise not to make methamphetamine out of you."
Right. They actually chuckle about that. I buy it so frequently. Anyway, that's what it was. That's what it is today. And that's how to replicate the effects.
There you go. The next question comes from a good friend of the show, Andrew Barker. He says, I used to go. In fact, Andrew Barker used to be the guy in Mexico that used to sell Thrive into Mexico.
Wow.
first introduced it. Yeah. He's. I used to go through a lot of. I'm sorry. I used to go through a lot of the old MRPs that came in single serving packets. They used to be everywhere, but today I can't find them anywhere. What happened to them?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. It can be summed up in a couple of words, though. What happened was this: the price of protein really skyrocketed, and in particular, milk proteins. I'm talking about. So up until about the mid 90s, you could buy 2 pounds of quality whey for around $20. Yes, that was a long time ago, um, but that's what it was. And so, and bear in mind, it cost the supplement company about half of that to make it. I was thinking of getting into the business at that point, and I can vividly recall a conversation I had with a protein supplier who quoted me $9 worth of product in a 2 pound container at that time. At which point you would retail it anywhere between 20 and 30. And people were gladly paying it because whey, in many respects, was a step up from the old, older protein, certainly soy, which is all well and good until the price of virtually all milk proteins absolutely skyrocketed. And so now people were being asked to pay 35 to 40 bucks for 2 pounds of whey. And that price, again, assumes it's in a big container, right? Not in these individual foil packets that were considerably more expensive. And consumers can only sustain so many price increases before they'll stop buying it, or otherwise they'll change their usage habits. They'll stretch it out longer, that sort of thing. Being a staple, people weren't going to go without their protein, though. But they did stop buying MRPs, meal replacement products, in the individual packets, and they just paid for protein in 2 and 5 pound containers. Couple that with the fact that MRPs were no longer a commodity item, right? When metrics came out, that's what the bodybuilders used. They're, those guys who want to build big muscles and really low body fat. But then, metrics, you saw it in Walmart and Costco, or, all these other places, big box stores. And basically that's what brought on the death of the MRP. Even Metrics, which was the best known brand, eventually stopped making their single serving package, which was really unfortunate because the work that they were doing at that point on flavoring was out of this world. I haven't seen it since. Now, a glimmer of hope for all of you who like MRPs. I'm reading and hearing where Bill Phillips is going to relaunch EAS, and the word is that he wants to start that by bringing back Myoplex, which was their MRP, in single serving packets. Chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry is apparently on the menu. He may do other flavors, but those are your bread and butter, right? When you're stocking and ordering product. Of course, if you don't want to wait until then, you can make your own MRPs simply by combining the contents of one package of sugar-free instant pudding with a scoop of protein, a scoop of instant oatmeal or other carbohydrate.
Or you can actually get oat flour, which is very powdery. It blends even better.
Yeah. And, if you want to jazz that up, throw in 3 grams a piece of creatine and beta alanine, right? And then just thin to your liking with water. And there it is. There's your MRP. Mm-hmm. I think in the end, MRPs were exposed for, that's all that they really were. You had a high quality protein source. You had a clean burning carbohydrate and something to thicken it. Everything else on that they eventually dumped in, like creatine, taurine, glutamine, all that stuff is optional. But at least in the case of creatine and beta alanine, it's research proven, right, to be better than just protein and carbohydrates. By the way, The carbohydrate source in the original MRPs was god awful. In most cases, it was maltodextrin. I don't anticipate that's going to be the case with Myoplex. We'll have to wait and see. But
I just got an email from a gal yesterday who used to buy his kid brother's product. Sean Phillips used to have that MRP.
Full throttle.
And she used to love it. She used to love it. And and I said, look, you can assemble it yourself. They're not a sponsor, but go to truenutrition.com. I said, start out with the whole milk concentrate. So you have whey and casein in there. I said, add flavor, add whatever else you want. I said, and they have oat. They don't call it oat flour. They call it something else, but it's basically oat flour. I said, you can make your own MRPs. But here, I think there was another nail in the coffin of the MRP, especially the single serving packets. So unless you're a gym rat like we are, you're not carrying a shaker bottle around with you.
Right.
And if you're out in the world, that made MRPs highly inaccessible. I think they've been replaced by the RTD MRPs. They have, even my convenience store has a bunch of them. So you pick it up, you open it, you drink it, you're done, you throw it away. You don't have a shaker bottle to take home and wash. It sits in your car in the summer. It smells like somebody farted in your back seat all day long. And then the other thing I think that contributed to the demise of the MRP is the explosion of bars. Holy mackerel! I mean, there's every day I go by a couple bars once in a while that I like. I like the collagen bar from Bulletproof. I like his collagen bar. It's greasy. I like that. I'm like, oh my God, there's a whole new bar company, and they don't lead with one bar. They got like 16 bars already. They did, boom, we just came out and we have 16 bars. Put them up. So between the bars and the RTDs, I don't think you'll ever see MRPs come back. And I got to be honest with you. I have all the respect in the world for Bill Phillips, his business acumen in the sports nutrition industry. But I'm going to make a prediction, and I hope I'm wrong. But if he leads with an MRP, he's not going to do as well as he could. He's got to lead with an RTD that'll get into stores. I understand selling it to individuals who are going to carry a shaker bottle with them and shake one up every day or two up every day. But people need more convenience than that nowadays. I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, it's good points. Excellent points.
Because, think about it, Rob. Back in the day, it was just, guys who were interested in building muscle. They were I got my shaker bottles. I got I'm going to buy that. But today the market is everybody else. It's not us anymore.
Yeah,
nobody wants to cater to the bodybuilders and the powerlifters anymore. They want to cater to the moms and the golfers and everybody else. And you got to be more convenient than that.
Yeah, and the explosion in keto diets. That's what I see. So, they've got all of these very easily consumed products that, they bypass that extra step with the MRP where you got to have a shaker bottle and mix it up.
Yeah, Seth Spanner just corrected both of us. It wasn't full throttle; it was full strength.
Full strength.
That was Sean Phillips's product. Thank you for that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get one more question real quick. Joe Lashway says, "I keep reading about all the other benefits of polyphenols. Are they really that good? And what are the best ones?"
Yeah. So in the realm of sports nutrition, polyphenols do rather stand out, at least insofar as having a fairly, I'll call it wide body of research supporting their use. And so for most people, the polyphenols they're going to be familiar with are EGCG from green tea and resveratrol. They've been documented to do everything from improving fat burning to having pretty profound anti-cancer benefits. Now, it's not just green tea, though. There are polyphenols that are beneficial to human health in green, black, and white tea. There's something called oolong tea, which I think is particularly rich in it. Polyphenols also occur in a wide range of brightly colored berries. And science is starting to uncover more and more of their benefits. I mentioned before resveratrol. That's from red grapes, I think. In addition, they've also found these polyphenols in believe it or not, a wide range of seaweeds and greens type products. So overall, I wouldn't call the effects from polyphenols quote unquote performance enhancing, as much as they are likely to improve your general health and be a preventative against certain disease states like cancer. Now, having said that, there are a couple of problems with polyphenols, namely poor bioavailability and typically, for most of them, a short half-life. Now, a few months ago in the bulletin, I did find a unique source of polyphenols that were not only highly bioavailable, but they have a 14-hour half-life, which makes once-a-day dosing, doable and convenient. And so by way of example, the polyphenols in green tea have a half-life of around 15 to 30 minutes, right? Big difference. I'm also going to be coming out next month with a new polyphenol that might be the most exciting of the bunch because it shows fat loss, among other things. And I think I've even solved for the bioavailability issues with a novel delivery system. It's being studied now, this polyphenol, at the Mayo Clinic after some very promising animal and human phase 1 trials. It's out there right now being sold as a supplement, although you really need to know where to look to find it. In any case, I personally use EGCG, resveratrol, and white and oolong and green tea, right, to obtain polyphenol's many benefits. I think you would be wise to do so as well. They're really impressive molecules. It's just bioavailability and half-life.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got some questions from live viewers that we're going to get to first, and then we'll get back to the questions that were submitted earlier before the show started via email. Then later in the show, after the BluePrint tip of the day, I'm going to answer the most common question I get about peptides. The most common question I get about peptides is, how do I reconstitute and figure my doses out? And I'm going to give you a simple trick that you'll go, oh my God, that's so easy. Now I can take any peptide and know just how much bacteriostatic water to add and how much to pull out into my syringe. So stay tuned for that. You're watching the BluePrint tip of the day. I mean, the BluePrint Power Hour. I'm trying to do too many things at one time. Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Want to improve mental energy and focus? Try the new Superhuman Stack from Pure Nootropics. Stack Dynamins, L-Butamin, Theocrine, and palmitoyl ethanolamide together and feel the lights go on in your brain. Find your perfect mix of these 4. Carl likes 1 cap of each and 2 caps of Dynamin. Bam! Lights on. Go to shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack, all one word, today, and get yours for 25% off plus free shipping. That's shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack.
Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest, so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snack Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 15% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today.
Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off. You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers.
Proper hydration can lead to improved endurance, performance, and recovery. When we sweat, we lose valuable electrolytes that must be replaced. That's why Element created a zero-sugar, science-backed ratio of electrolytes that you can add to your water. It comes in 3 flavors. Sample them all risk-free with the Element Variety Pack. Carl's favorite is raspberry. Free shipping on all U.S. orders. Go to shrnetwork.biz/LMNT and get yours today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back to the Blueprint Power Hour. So we're going to get to some questions from live viewers. The first one comes from Carrie Kruger. Again, I said she's listening or watching today from South Africa. I wonder if Andre is with her. Anyway, she says, could you please discuss magnesium again? I specifically would like to know which forms would be the best in terms of absorption, and also the best type of magnesium that would address the most problems. In other words, the best all-around form of magnesium.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Carrie. And it's a great question because it's going to apply to many people in the audience. So first, a little bit of background. Depending upon the estimates, I've seen figures as high as 75% of North Americans being deficient in magnesium. And part of that is because, they're not eating enough leafy greens or nuts. Part of that is that the food today, or I should say the soil that the food is grown in, is not as mineral rich as it used to be. And that's because of years and decades of over farming. You need to remember, we just don't feed people in the United States. We feed a decent part of the world, which means those fields are very rarely given the opportunity to replace their nutrient-rich soil. Having said that, you've probably heard many, many times, magnesium is a cofactor in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. Some of those for sports nutrition are big, like really big. That includes muscle growth, muscle strength, central nervous system function. Magnesium, especially in one of the more bioavailable forms, it should also be relaxing if you take your minerals at night. And that begets the question, okay, what's the most absorbable form? Well, A couple of thoughts on that. Number one, I would steer clear of magnesium oxide, which is what you'll see in almost every drugstore.
It's hardly absorbed.
Exactly.
In fact, that's the one that'll really give you the poopy so bad, because it's not absorbed and it just attracts fluid in your intestines, and
yeah,
it's disaster pants.
It's a bad scene. Yeah. Much better forms are magnesium asparate, which is what I use in Synthogen, magnesium citrate, magnesium picolinate, and magnesium orotate would all be superior absorbed forms of that mineral. I can tell you, and it's ironic because this happened last night. My wife woke up screaming for magnesium. And why? Because she gets horrible leg cramps. Magnesium we use magnesium citrate for her. Within 5 to 10 minutes, completely fixes those muscle cramps. And these muscle cramps, by the way, are some of the scariest things I've ever seen. The last time this happened, I was 2 seconds away. I had the phone in my hand from dialing 911 because she was in so much pain. If you've ever had them, you know what I'm talking about. So I would tell you, as an insurance policy, supplement magnesium. Look for asparate, citrate, picolinate, or orotates. And if you're using one of those more bioavailable forms, I think it's 800 milligrams a day or 400 milligrams a day, one of the two. Get your RDI from that, and then whatever you get from food on top of that is just a bonus. One final note: if your vitamin D levels aren't budging, and I know some people who take a boatload of it, but their vitamin D levels never go up, add magnesium. Watch what happens. Presto, vitamin D levels finally get up there.
Here's my recommendation. Bioptimizers makes a product called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's 7 forms of magnesium, several of them Rob just mentioned. Magnesium chelate or chelate, depending on where you're from. Magnesium citrate, magnesium bisglycinate, magnesium malate, magnesium L-threonate, which was recently discovered to improve cognition in people with dementia, magnesium taurate, and magnesium orotate. All of those are in one product.
Wow.
And if you go to shrnetwork.biz/magnesiumbt, all lowercase, MAGNESIUMBT, and use the code SHR10, you'll get up to 40% off of this amazing magnesium product. Rob's right. Most of us, I supplement with magnesium. I actually use this product. Rob is right. Most of us don't get enough magnesium in our diet. And this is not just one opinion. There's a whole host of scientists talking about magnesium being lacking in our population. So with a product like Magnesium Breakthrough, you have all the different forms of magnesium. It's in multiple capsules. It's not like, and it's all in one capsule. That's nonsense. You can save a bunch of money going to shrnetwork.biz/magnesiumbt and use the code SHR10, and you get up to 40% off depending on what deal you choose. And you got it taken care of. That's it.
One product I would caution you on is magnesium creatine chelate.
Really? Give me the runs?
Magnesium bonded to creatine. Given the amount of creatine that some guys load with, you're going to be in the bathroom real fast and probably for a long time. So I would get them separately until at least until you know how your system handles that little combination.
So Seth Spanner has a question. He said, do you really see anything new in research regarding exercise? Every time I see someone mentions a study, it just seems to be referencing something that we were onto back in the mid-90s or earlier.
Yeah, he's right. And that's partially because those methods have been documented over the years, but it's also partially what's the incentive for anybody to find a new method of weight training that works, or that works better than what is currently in use? Now, having said that, Carl, you and I had a fairly lengthy conversation about your new segmented pause type training. And I would tell you that it's certainly worth a try. It sounds like it's right up my alley, and I'm going to be using it, if not today, in 48 hours or so, on legs. So previously, I just tried it on neck. I don't think I used enough weight. Maybe the muscle group wasn't big enough. We'll find out on legs. But no, to your point, Seth, most of what has been known for a long time. And if you read your old time strongman books, you'll find the same methods are mentioned. They're oftentimes under just different names.
So I track a variety of different things for newly released and published research. And exercise is one of those keywords that I follow. And I can tell you unabashedly that there is a vast amount of research being done in exercise, but it's not in the areas that you or I care about. It's about curing diseases. It's about affecting dementia. Every day I get an email from the National Institutes of Health with links to well over 50 studies that were just published about exercise. And this is, again, it's not how to build muscle. It's not that. It's how exercise reverses certain disease states. That's where the largest area of research is today. And I'm really excited about that because, as you point out, Seth, we've known since the 90s and probably before. Bernard McFadden had a book, a magazine, all about, really, he called it Physical Culture Magazine, but it was about anti-aging when you really look at it. So we've known that exercise, I don't care what, look, I have certain challenges I'm facing, neurological challenges that killed my sister. My sister was crippled at my age right now. So I'm winning right now as far as I'm concerned, but I'm not going to lie to you. I am not symptom free. I have to really think hard about using my legs. There's the nerves in my legs are not cooperating with what I want them to do sometimes. And so I know that if I stop exercising, it gets worse because I just did it through COVID. And when I train, it gets better. Am I reversing it? Maybe not. Am I keeping it from progressing? Absolutely. And if I can keep it from progressing for the rest of my life by doing exercise, then that's my medicine. But yeah, that's where all the research today is in exercise, Seth. That's where it is right now.
And that's huge. Last thing I'll say, Seth, is this. Anyone listening, there's a book called The Radar Weight Gaining System, Perry Rader, I think, Weight Gaining System. It was published in 1932 and probably has 3 different ways to train in there, all of which exist today under different names. That should give you some perspective on, what goes around comes around and keeps going around. So
the next question comes from Greg Geldart. He says, you're the ECTI guy, so I was wondering if there's anything new on the ECTI front.
I don't know if you'd call this new, but I think more and more people are waking up to it, and hopefully it brings it in more into the mainstream. What I'm talking about is this: 2 effects in particular. Number 1, benefits to glucose metabolism, blood sugar, as well as its ability to improve lipid profiles. Those 2 things are very, very prominent when you're taking a quality ecdysterone and enough of it. And you will absolutely, positively see it in your blood work, okay? Now, let me give you an example. I typically run high on both of those values. Little over 200 with the cholesterol and fasting blood sugar, 100, maybe 109. I'm like that. I've always been like that. My dad's like that. His dad's been like that. So to some extent, there's a genetic component. The good news is that, follow-up A1C tests and things like that have all been spot on. There are no issues from what they can see. But I discovered long ago that when taking quality ecdysterone from Reconstituting in the amount of anywhere between 500 milligrams and 1,000 milligrams a day, those two values improve dramatically. Right, I usually see the cholesterol go from total cholesterol from 212 down into the 175, 180 range. My fasting blood sugars drop from 100 or a little over 100 down to the high 70s, low 80s sometimes. And my doctor finally caught on to this because I would go on and off and on and off. And of course, the blood values or the blood work reflected that. And so he's kind of, he questioned my numbers and he wanted to know why so much up and down. So I finally told him. I don't know if he necessarily believed it, but that's the truth. Look, this isn't magic, right? Ecdy's benefits on glucose metabolism have been known for a long time. They've been in the literature pretty much since day one. And in my opinion, they far outshine its abilities, let's say, to increase protein synthesis, which is what gets all the press usually when it's being marketed. The same is true for lipids. There are two ecdysterones in Reconstituting that are not in cyanotis vaga, those being integrastone A and B, that are major players in bringing total cholesterol levels down, probably due to the high number of hydroxyl groups in there. You can check out the chemical structure of these two monsters, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you see it over at ecdybase.org. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And here's what really cinched it for me, right? One person, N equals 1, study group of 1. Can't really tell too much. What cinched it for me was this. Every single person that I have recommended it to and have used that amount of ecdy has seen the same or similar benefits. Speaking of which, I was never concerned with quote unquote high cholesterol, right? Never. The Framingham Heart Study made it pretty clear, what you need to be concerned with is oxidized cholesterol. And there again, ecdysterone, in particular Reconstituting, wins. It has phenomenal antioxidant action. And so when you add that to some of the polyphenols that I discussed earlier, that I use those for about as powerful a 1-2 punch as I've seen to keep blood sugar, cholesterol, lipids, and oxidation in check. So the upshot is this. I predict in the coming years, ecdy is hopefully going to find a more mainstream acceptance, not as a muscle builder, but as a general health supplement benefiting at least those three important things. Kind of like the way you can go to Walmart and see red yeast rice, for cholesterol, that sort of thing. When you consider the fact that statins are one of, if not the most prescribed medications, and syndrome X/diabetes is right up there with it, you begin to appreciate ecdy's potential. And so I hope to see it someday in Walmart for those purposes.
I'm still stymied by the fact that people don't know that. You may have to lower my volume coming out of your speaker because it's coming back to me. I can't believe that people still don't know that niacin is the best statin drug in the world. Literally at like 5 cents a tablet.
Yeah.
It raises HDL and lowers LDL at the same time. And it's what all statin drugs, all pharmaceutical statin drugs are compared to. Like niacin sets the bar, and then they try to come up with a molecule that does what niacin does. And you could just get niacin. And I mean, I take 500 milligrams of slow release niacin every single day. Every single day.
You don't have to worry about rhabdo and other side effects.
Well, wait a minute. Guess what a downstream metabolite of niacin is. NAD plus, nicotinamide riboside. Niacin binds with ribose, the sugar, to make NAD plus. So if you're taking niacin, you don't have to worry about buying these expensive NAD plus supplements.
Yeah, that's a nice anti-aging benefit too, right?
I mean, 500 mil, and you know what? Once in a while, it opens too fast, and I get the, but then I think, oh, my niacin is working. That's all I think.
Yeah, right.
Excuse me. Wally Carbo, you've talked about cysts, and I understand it's good, but what's it really best for? I read how it's not only good for joints, but where it can help you lose fat. Is that true?
Well, there's some partial truths there, so let's talk about them. Yes, CSIS is good for many things, more than just one. And I always think back to this conversation I had with a Russian woman who owned a health food store. This was way back in the early 90s. And so when I got to the sports nutrition aisle, she picked up a box of SoPharma's Tribestin. And she said, "This is good." And I said, "Good for what?" And she said, "Is good for all things." CSIS is proving to be a product like that. And that's even more so true, I think, for CSIS, because it goes well beyond its benefits, very noticeable benefits to quote unquote joint issues. So a little bit on the history. Back when USP Labs was a legitimate company, or at least dealing with legitimate herbal products, credit to them, they introduced CSIS to the Western world, at least as far as I can tell. The original, if I'm not mistaken, was a 5% extract, and it worked really well for just about any injury. You could tell, and you can still tell within a week or so of taking this stuff, it helps a lot. They then came out with something called Super CSIS, which I think was a 10% extract. And at that point, of course, all of the copycat artists started to jump in, right? The market's starting to get flooded with all sorts of CSIS products. And those are still out there, ranging from extracts ranging from 2.5 up to about 10%. Supposedly, the lower percentage extracts do a better job at healing your joints. The higher percentage extracts are said to be better for body recomposition benefits. And yes, there are a few studies showing some rather amazing fat loss, but frankly, the studies appear to be, they suffer from funding and or research bias for the companies selling the stuff. So in any case, I have seen CSIS successfully used in arthritis, tendinitis, bursitis, tendon and ligament strains, right down to broken legs and bones and bunions. It makes a noticeable difference for a good 90% of people, I would say, that use it. And so, it's the one herb where if I recommend it to anyone, Joe, from Joe Q Public to Mr. Bodybuilder, 9 out of 10 of those people come back to me and say, "Man, you were right. That stuff's dynamite." So the question becomes, how does it work? And which is a really good question, because no matter what anybody tells you, they're not sure yet. What are the active ingredients? Well, there's some speculation.
Yeah, we think.
Right. But the honest answer is nobody knows yet. It's conjecture. So as long as we're speculating, I'll throw my 2 cents in. I would say, given its success rate, almost universal pain mitigation, down to outright pain elimination, it's likely modulating cortisol somehow. How it's doing that, I don't know. But it seems to be almost like a low-grade cortisone shots without all the side effects. There is also evidence that it's a strong antioxidant. something that isn't surprising given its benefits to the liver. It's shown when the liver is under stress, it's been shown to help there too. I would tell you that extracts are better than the bulk herb, but also be skeptical of products that seem to over-standardize for what they speculate the one particular active ingredient is. In some cases, that's ketosteroids. In some cases, that's tannins and resins in the plant. A good full-spectrum extract, I think, will serve anyone well. Now, I've taken it in the morning on an empty stomach. I've taken it at dinner or it seems to work the same either way. Within a week, sometimes in as little as 3 days, I experience relief, and I continue to experience it as long as I take it. Usually it takes about a week after you stop taking it to feel the pain coming back. Yeah, so my wife just went through this. God bless her. She has, how many issues she has with her feet and bunions. She wasn't sleeping because she was woken up by stabbing pains. She said in less than a week after getting back on CSIS, she was sleeping through the night. So usually 1,600 milligrams or so, let's call it 800 milligrams in the morning and 800 milligrams at night. I did stumble across, for the Bulletin folks, a really, really strong product that's effective at just 2 capsules a day.
Okay, so this is good. Andre Kleinhans from South Africa just asked, is there a good product that you can recommend?
Yeah, Andre, it's well, here, I'll do this. The best one, the strongest one, was in the Bulletin from 2 months ago. And the best part is it's very economical. For everyone else, PrimaForce is a good brand. It has a strong track record. It's reasonably priced. And I would look into that product if you can get it. If you have issues with your joints, bones, or any inflammation whatsoever, get on this stuff. I mean, it's that good. And it's at a price point now where it's very, very affordable.
Does it interfere with protein synthesis? Will it hurt you make your gains?
If it does, I don't see it. In fact, if anything, it should help your gains if it's modulating cortisol the way I think it is. Right? Because you might not be boosting your testosterone, but even if you somehow lower cortisol, the ratio will be more in your favor, even without raising test.
Right.
So
yeah, so great. I'm going to give it a try. I think I need to try it.
Oh, trust me. I think you're going to look back and say this was one of his best recommendations.
Yeah, no, I'm going to give it a try. In fact, I'm going to order it today when I get off the show. I'm going to. I get with PrimaForce. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have the BluePrint tip of the day, and then after that, stick around. If you like peptides, and you always think to yourself, how much solution do I put into this vial? How do I dose it? I'm going to give you a simple trick that actually your 3rd grade math teacher taught you, but you forgot. Shame on you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Mind Bullet is a kratom product derived from the coffee family to boost energy and creative juices. Mind Bullet comes in both pill and liquid form for the ultimate pre-workout supplement. When needing a little pick-me-up or to get through the morning fog, Mind Bullet will set your productive course fast. Go to shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet, all one word, today, and save 20%. No subscription required. That's shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet. Get yours today.
Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? The rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon. They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. My friends over at Bioptimizers, makers of industry-leading digestive supplements, have created a special recipe for you that helps boost brain performance in the morning. They make products Primergen V and Primergen M, potent liquid vitamins and mineral formulas loaded with absorbable vitamin Bs and trace minerals in a fulvic and humic acid base. You stack that with 3 capsules of Capex, their enzyme and energy supplement, and the effect is even stronger. You'll be buzzing without jitters or any negative side effects for hours. Bioptimizers calls this the Brain Boost Stack, and they're running a special promotion for you at shrnetwork.biz/brainstack. That's shrnetwork.biz/BRAINSTACK. You can get an additional 10% off from the normal package price with the coupon code SHR10. It's a powerful way to get your brain going and optimize your daily focus, memory, and performance.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom-made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at Synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 25% off all beef and free shipping on orders of $100 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to Piedmontese.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. I'm sorry, hold on. I got to check a message here. I didn't see this. Okay. All right, so we have the BluePrint tip of the day, which always is a big fan favorite because this is where Rob blends not only physical culture, but common sense about a lot of different things. So what is the tip of the day today, Coach?
Tip of the day, I think, is a question that we all need to be able to answer. How do you learn? Okay. So if you're really into strength training, it's important to know thyself, so to speak. And so what I'm referring to here is this, the various ways in which people learn. So very early on, I tried to become a student of this game, right? Because I had this real desire for more muscle. But learning about it wasn't easy, right? It was a different world back then. There was no internet. The magazines, even then, it was clear, you know, they're completely BS. And at the higher levels, it seemed to be some sort of like secret society. You know, I remember going to my first gyms and the men were guarded. I'll use that word, guarded. I'm not sure why exactly. But in most cases, people were reluctant to open up about anything. So I did what I did best. I learned by watching. And so early on, I had been training in the basement of my church. They had about a half a dozen universal machines. But, you know, after 6 months to a year of that, even then, it was clear to me that training there was only going to take me so far. So I took a giant leap, and for me anyway, which was this. I joined what was then one of the biggest hardcore gyms within driving distance. There was a place called Big Daddy's. It was loud, it was dirty, and it was in a pretty rough part of town. But all it took was one look at the members there, and I knew, you know, I was in a different world, a world where I didn't necessarily feel at home yet. at the time, I was extremely introverted. I was intimidated by these men, and I knew that the conversations were going to be few and far between. These folks didn't look particularly friendly. So I sat there, I watched. I literally spent my first few visits, maybe the first few weeks, sitting at the desk, watching these men and what they were doing. And so after about a week of that, I remember the following things really, sinking in. Number one, these guys lifted heavy. There was nobody there lifting light. Two, most of them did multiple sets of low to medium reps. They were there on average, I'd say 4 days a week, sometimes 5 or more. And they didn't waste time with little exercises. They were doing heavy presses, heavy pulls, squats and deadlifts, your money lifts, so to speak. And finally, I remember this. Their form wasn't the strictest, but it wasn't what I'd call sloppy either. It was somewhere in between. When I finally did venture out onto the floor, I simply copied what I saw. I literally copied these guys as best as I could. And that worked to a degree. I had no real plan other than to get stronger, because all of the guys I wanted to look like were stronger than I was. And at least back then, I had enough good sense to realize that had a lot to do with it. But after 6 months, I wasn't much bigger, and I couldn't figure out why. At first, I thought, oh, geez, these guys are taking steroids, and I'm not. That's why I'm not growing like these guys. And that's a mistake that a lot of people make, especially the general public. I reviewed everything that I saw. I made careful notes, but I still couldn't come up with the answer until an old timer there offered me some help. And so I explained to him, I said, dude, I'm doing everything these guys are doing, and I'm getting stronger, but I'm not getting bigger. What's going on? I can still remember his reply word for word. He said, you're not gaining because those guys are doing something that you're not seeing. And he paused. I'll never forget the pause. I'm sure he was, waiting for the, steroids. But he filled in his own blank when he said, you don't see how much they eat, right? And he's right, because you're at the gym, these guys aren't eating, they're training.
Right.
Yeah. And so he went on to explain to me that most of the guys that he knew there were eating 4,000 calories a day minimum, sometimes more. The only exception was their contest prep, right? When they would diet as stringently as possible and get ripped. And that explained finally something else that I saw at the gym, but I couldn't reconcile, which was a lot of these guys have their contest pictures up on the wall, right? And so they're all ripped to shreds, but I'm looking at them and they look quite different, and I couldn't figure out why. That was pretty much my first education in how important diet was and how I learned it. It wasn't overt. Not everything was obvious. I continued to learn by watching, and to this day, that still serves me well. One thing you should know about learning by watching is this: you can learn almost as much, sometimes more, about what not to do just by watching others. You can, for example, observe how many people in your gym, how much do they change in a year? 95% of them don't. Watch what movements they perform. Watch what movements they avoid, right? How many sets and reps they do, as well as in general, their progress. I would tell you, I do not a lot, but I do low intensity, steady state cardio occasionally. And I use that time to watch. I'm on the treadmill. I take mental notes about what people do and don't do. That doesn't make you a busybody. That makes you a student of the game. Reading is likewise important. It's extremely important. It is the next logical step after watching, because eventually you move on to doing. And the more you understand about the finer points, the faster that you will progress. Reading gives you a deeper understanding of what you're about to do. And even more importantly, I think it can shave years, in some cases decades, off of your learning curve. If you find a good information source, stick with it, because it's like a GPS, right? It's like a GPS in your car. You're going to get to wherever it is you're going a lot faster with one than without one. Finally, I'm going to encourage you to steal, because every so often you will read about or see someone doing something creative, outside the box, and or worthwhile. If it looks good, by all means, steal it. It's a silent theft. It's not really hurting anyone, right? So no harm, no foul. But at least, do give credit where credit is due, and don't pass the methods off as your own. That's a pet peeve of mine, because I see people doing this. I didn't create accumulation intensification phases. I didn't create loading patterns, ladders, or 5x5. I did arrange them just so that they'll all work in unison, and they work better than any one method is used to its exclusion. But I understand and give credit to the men that developed those systems. When Charles Staley talks, I listen. Why? He came up with EDT and a half a dozen other training methods that are just out of this world. I consider the man a genius. I really do. Here's the bottom line. Understand how you learn best, and then fill in the gaps with other learning methods. Never stop learning. The day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. You want a robust quiver full of arrows. And the only way you get those is to learn more and different methods. You will achieve your goals faster. You will avoid the mistakes that I and other people made, and hopefully make your own contribution someday. Know how you learn and never stop.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We're going to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, if you're a fan of peptides, I'm going to show you a very simple way to calculate how to reconstitute and dose your peptides. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the Blueprint Power Hour here on Superhuman Radio. Stay tuned. Guys, you've heard about this revolutionary acoustic wave technology that improves your sexual performance. It's been used in Europe for 20 years and has a 90% success rate of reversing symptoms of ED. Even if you're not suffering from ED, it can take you back to peak sexual performance of your younger days. The Phoenix uses powerful sound waves to clear plaque blockage and substantially increase blood flow. It's easy to use, has no side effects, and can be done in the privacy of your own home. Doctors have been charging thousands of dollars for these treatments. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Phoenix and use the code SHR for a special superhuman deal. Regain your sexual prowess today. Are you still on the fence about body protection complex BPC oral from drseeds.com? Listen to Maggie Kuhn, one of the owners of the C-Bus lifting company gym in Columbus, Ohio.
I had been having some nagging tendon issues that weren't injuries, just things that were annoying. I'm 58 years old, so just older tendon kind of issues. For us powerlifters, we really don't stop training when we have just nagging issues. We just kind of keep pushing through. And I started the BPC. What I noticed was I was doing some heavy tricep stuff that would have killed me before when I had an elbow problem, and I was able to do that with literally no pain at all.
Go to drseeds.com, drseeds.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your bottle of BPC Body Protection Complex today. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new transformation challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snack Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 15% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
So I'm going to move very fast with this because it's not complicated. First, I got to put up a couple comments. So AG, who watches us on YouTube, said ephedra was almost too strong for him. Coffee is good enough. A lot of people don't respond to Stim's. Some people, it just messes them up. Actually, doesn't make them feel better. Okay, so calculating reconstitution and dosing for your peptides made simple. The first thing I'm going to say is going to sound, oh, that's it? But it really is, but nobody does it. I get more people post on message boards, how do I reconstitute my BPC 157? What is the dose? How do I figure it out? So the first thing you do is if you have a vial of BPC 157, for instance, we're going to use that as the example, but this is true of every peptide out there. The first thing you have to do is reduce everything to its lowest common denominator. Remember when your teacher told you that when you were doing division problems in third grade? Yeah. First, reduce everything to its lowest common denominator. Well, that's what I'm telling you, the first thing. So if you have 5 milligrams of BPC, you actually have 5,000 micrograms of BPC. And if you're going to put a diluent in it, like bacteriostatic water for injection, you're doing everything in 1 milliliter. 1 milliliter is actually 100 units. And when you're using an insulin syringe, we talk about units as a measure, a metric of size or volume, I should say. And so if you reduce that vial of 5 milligrams to 5,000 micrograms, and you reduce the bacteriostatic water you're about to put in, 1 milliliter equals 100 units. So that means 2 milliliters equals 200 units. And you divide the units into the milligrams, you'll get what every unit on that insulin syringe is equivalent to in micrograms. So, for instance, if you take 5,000 micrograms divided by 100, that means that every single unit is 50 micrograms. So if you want to take 300 micrograms a day of BPC 157, then you just need 6 units. If you want to take a half a milligram of BPC 157 a day, like I do, then every 1/10 of a milliliter which is 10 units, is 500 micrograms. This is so simple. Just divide the 5,000 micrograms by the 100, which is the unit value, and you get your answer. And this works for melanotan 2, always comes in a 10 milligram vial. All you can fit in there is 4 milliliters of diluent. If you take 10,000 divided by 400, because remember, we're going to take every milliliter and make it equal 100 units. So if you take 10,000 micrograms divided by 400, every unit is 25 micrograms of melanotan 2. It's very simple. You can't mess this stuff up if you first reduce everything to its lowest common denominator. Now, the second thing I would suggest is if you're going to create stacks, like if any of you who follow me on Facebook know that I have a post-workout peptide stack that has about 8 different things in it. There's no need to. So in BPC 157, I only put 1 whole milliliter in that 5 milligram vial. That way, then every 1/10 of a milliliter is exactly a half of a milligram, because that's what my dose is for my post-workout stack. That takes up very, very little room in my syringe. Why put all of that liquid in there? You don't need to. Think about your dosing first. If all you're doing is BPC 157, sure, you can put more in, because all you're going to do is fill up that 1 syringe with it. But if you're taking multiple peptides and putting them into a single syringe, you want to be economic about how much each one, the space it takes up in the barrel of that syringe. So you don't have to use a lot of fluid, is what I'm saying. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm glad you're addressing this, because now you mentioned melanotan 2. There was a spin-off from that, the PT 141, the libido fragment.
Mm-hmm.
I once fielded a pretty desperate phone call from a guy who screwed up. He shot too much PT 141, and based on what he was telling me, it sounded like he was going to have a stroke.
Why? Wait. So I've actually done 6 milligrams of PT 141 one time just to see what it felt like.
I'm pretty sure it was that they know it works, but they could never. I guess the drug company that was developing it could never separate out the spikes in blood pressure and other issues.
No, that's not true. So when they use PT 141 intranasally, it raises blood pressure, but not when you're injecting it.
Oh, this guy. Okay. Well, I don't know.
It makes you feel horrible. Just for the record, PT 141 makes you feel horrible. Like, it may increase libido, but then you don't feel like having sex because you feel nauseous all the time. So it's kind of like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing.
Yeah, I'm glad I never went down
6
that road.
milligrams will give you a spontaneous erection that will last for hours. So just be prepared to stay home. That's it. Stay home.
Yeah. So that's great information. These things are real medications. You can't be too careful.
So this is true of any peptide you're working with. Just reduce the milligrams to micrograms and reduce the milliliters to units. 1 milliliter is 100 units. And whatever your milligrams are, reduce that to micrograms. It's 1,000 micrograms in a milligram. And that's it. It's easy stuff. Don't make it harder than it has to be.
All right, man. Thank you for having me. You're great.
Yeah. And as we'll see everybody tomorrow. We have more shows this week, so hope you can tune in. Please share the shows. Always share the shows. There's somebody out there that you'll send this show to. They'll listen to it and they go, wow, that really helped me. So, all right. See you tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
Take care.